In this video, we're going to be talking about the Great Resignation. Some of you probably heard this term before, some are new to it, but for the last couple weeks, it's been blowing up in news articles, viral videos, and there's this big phrase that's being spread out. Oh, it's the Great Resignation. Everyone is leaving their jobs. I mean, a lot of top YouTubers, including Stephen Graham, talked about it, and a bunch of others did. Forbes articles have been released about this. It's this new phenomenon where so many people are quitting their job, and the question is why? Why are they quitting their job, and why are they doing what they're doing? So, first and foremost, what is the Great Resignation in more detail? So, just a quick explanation. The big stat that's often thrown out is 4 million people have recently quit their jobs, and they're kind of coining this as, this big phase where a large portion of the US workforce, or arguably the global workforce, has been awakened recently and realized that their jobs aren't as great as they think, and they've all of a sudden started considering work-life balance and their priorities and their purpose and all this stuff, the perks of remote life, and they decided, I'm just going to quit. I'm going to find a new job. Now, is this actually happening, or is it clickbait media? So I would say almost every article or content I've put out there has kind of been just addressing it head on as a legitimate thing. And I would say, yes, there is some validity to this, but let's be more particular here. I think a portion of it is clickbait. Because when you look at the statistics, when you look at the actual numbers, they love to throw out these big numbers, but when you have to actually look at the whole picture, 4 million people are quitting their jobs. But as usually like a footnote to that, there's 9 million new jobs in the market. So how much of this is simply a natural transition as people are exiting the pandemic and returning to the jobs that were basically shut down during the pandemic? A lot of those happened, especially in the entertainment and service industries and hospitality industries. They didn't exist. And so those new jobs were existing jobs before 2020 that have now potentially re-emerged. And so there's a lot more jobs. Perhaps a portion of these people are simply quitting their temporary jobs that they had to choose as a delivery person or a grocery shopper in order to return to their pre-existing job. So maybe that's part of the deal. I know there's definitely a lot of people who went through unemployment, especially in the service area. There's even like a few YouTubers I watched. There's this one that reacts to like K-pop videos, and she was in the service industry, the entertainment industry, Brooke Morrison, and then she got let go. I mean, her whole department did because of COVID. And I think she worked for iHeartMedia. And now she's back. She found another job. So how much of this is simply the job market bouncing back and rebooming? Now, I did say partially. So there is some validity to this. And what are the implications? That's really what matters. How do you leverage this in your career? How do you take advantage? How do you make the most of this situation? So first thing I would recommend is you have to understand there is some validity here. When you look at the qualitative aspects, the people leaving comments, the people talking about this in forums and stuff, I went on to Fishbowl, which is a career development app, and I saw people talking about the Great Resignation, and there are legitimate cases of individuals, many who say, yeah, this is legit. Two of the comments were like, yeah, this is legit for me. I straight up quit with no job prospects because I was just sick of my old job. And I think both of them actually said, oh, and then within like a couple weeks, I was able to find something. So there is validity here. There are some people who are really concerned about purpose, passion, income, work-life balance, remote working capabilities and benefits, and they're making their stand, and something might have expedited the process. Maybe it was the pandemic that forced them to maybe spend more time with family, or hyper focus their monotonous work life to really get them to think, wow, I should spend more time with family, or wow, I really hate this job. Regardless of the case, people are legitimately quitting because they just don't like their jobs, even without job prospects. And for me, as a personal development YouTube channel, and as someone who has studied this topic for years, I think this is something that you should always be considering. But the masses don't always do. So it sometimes takes an event like this to really force them to consider things. You should always be considering, because life is short. Am I passionate about this? Is this something that fulfills my higher level values, purpose, what fulfills me? Is this something that I enjoy? Is this something that has career potential, income growth potential? And is this something that satisfies my stress levels and work-life balance and the benefits that I want in my life? So all those things are critically important and definitely essential to your thought process, and should be considered on a at least semi-annual basis, regardless of whether there's a pandemic or not. So as an individual, that's something you should be doing. You should not wait 5-10 years for a natural event of some sort, like a earthquake or pandemic, to really force you to think, because that's how you waste years. And I know, easier said than done, definitely easier said than done. Many people, myself included, they say these things and then it's much harder to execute because, oh, well, this job's all right. It's not great, but it's all right. You tolerate it. It pays decent. And then sooner or later, 10 years go by and you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? So don't rest on your laurels. I think that's the first bit. And perhaps the pandemic did expedite this, and there is some legitimacy here because people are quitting. Now, the real other opportunity here, in my opinion, and of course, leave your own perspectives on this and tips in the comments. This is a community that I'm trying to grow, so let's help each other. If you find certain angles or opportunities here with this great resignation, feel free to give your thoughts in the comments. But my idea on the great opportunity here is the fact that, yeah, there's a great resignation going on, but partially a good portion of that is because the economy, the job market is bouncing back thanks to vaccines, which means that at least in developed countries right now, soon to be more developing countries as vaccines roll out, people are going back to work. Entire companies and industries that were shut down due to the pandemic are coming back, and that opens up a large amount of jobs, which means there's this influx, supply and demand, of large demand for jobs, and the supply isn't as there for whatever reason. Now this gets more complicated and more than I have done my research on, but there's so many moving parts and industries to it. So you might be wondering, well, shouldn't supply and demand just equalize back to pre-pandemic levels, and shouldn't it just be equal? Well, for whatever reason, we're not seeing that, especially in certain industries. And if you look into the Great Resignation and the content about it, you'll realize, and this is even a larger discussion on career development, but you'll realize that there is a huge demand for jobs and not enough supply, which means what? It means it is a seller's market, which means as the candidate, the job candidate, you have more leverage. It's a job candidate leverage position. And these moments only happen once every blue moon. Now, some people can't leverage this because they just can't, maybe they're still in school and they don't have a job yet, but maybe you have an internship possibility or a part-time job possibility. But I think the opportunity here is in the job applying process right now, because there's only certain eras in time where you have the leverage as a candidate, because everyone, all the recruiters are fighting over each other to find people. There's too many good jobs, not enough people. And that's a very general statement, because I think the people who are bad at job hunting, they're still going to have issues, because the whole front door applying your resume approach, that's just going to land you in a pile with a couple hundred digital resumes. But the people who actually have good value, know how to network, know how to pitch, know how to find the jobs, and that's a process even I'm still working on. But there are people, cream of the crop on LinkedIn, who are just killing it right now and know what to do. They have a huge ability right now to negotiate, leverage, and pin down opportunities that they wouldn't have never gotten, salaries that they wouldn't have gotten because of that supply and demand issue. Recruiters, employers are willing to give more leverage, maybe than any time before in history. They're willing to offer not just the ability to work remote, because the last year has proven its validity, but also all sorts of other elements that are crucial to that whole environment, such as salary, benefits, work-life balance, whatever have you that you may be interested in. Maybe it's a catered lunch, I don't know. But I think it's probably shifting too. The things that mattered to employees could be shifting as well, because I think the pandemic has kind of forced certain things to be more valuable and less, or less. Catered lunches, maybe not so much anymore because of the whole COVID thing and the preference for remote work. But other things are shifting as well, and it may even be a person by person basis, not always just a general masses generalization. And what I mean by that is some people really just want to spend more time with family, or really want to work remote a lot more. Or some of them may have had the opposite reaction, and they said, wow, I had to work a year remote. I hate this. I'm an extrovert. I'm social. I want a job that has me in the office with real people. And so those all play into it, and you get this interesting dynamic of, employers being able to give that, and oftentimes have to give that in this competitive market. So you got a lot of people now quitting their jobs, and a lot of these low menial jobs they're being shifted out of. And so there's another dynamic there. A lot of people quitting jobs that they don't like. Who's going to take these jobs? Once again, the employers may have to compromise, pay higher, do something else to make it happen. But once again, just let me know your thoughts, because that's just my opinion on things. And post in the comments your tips, your thoughts on this whole dynamic. I think it's very interesting. Do I think it's exceptionally pronounced to the point where they're just handing out epic jobs left and right? No. Is it more pronounced than it has been in the last 5 years, maybe even 10 years? Yes. So I think it is an opportunity. I think this opportunity will continue, at least until the end of 2021. And I don't think just because of this, you're just going to have epic jobs handed to you. I think the cream of the crop, the people who have learned those career development skills, stuff that I have mentioned in my previous YouTube videos on networking, career hunting, internship hunting, those people will reap the bulk of the benefits. But even the bottom layer, the people who are just mass applying to job boards, they will see some slight upticks. They're going to see more responses than they would have in the past, more job interviews because of all this. And so it's kind of a mix of all these different complicated factors. You don't just, it's about, being at the right era at the right time, having the right skill set, having the right networking capabilities, the right marketing capabilities to present your skills in the right way. And this is stuff I'm still working on, we're all working on, but a very exciting time. Let me know if there's an opportunity that I missed, because I'm also looking to see what I possibly missed, and because these moments only come once in the blue moon. So if you think you have anything, leave a comment and let me know. Say, hey Will, this is something I think the Great Resignation will open up, and of course I'll check it out. I'll see if I can benefit from it, because we're all in this together. Let's up level our game, and I'll see you at the top.